Welcome back to On Texas Football, a little bye-week edition. I'm CJ Vogel, joined by Gerry Hamilton and Rod Babers. Of course, today we're going to be talking a little toss-up action. I'll be tossing out a couple scenarios, a couple of questions to Rod and Gerry. They'll be picking sides. They'll be agreeing with one another or going back and forth. We'll see how it goes, inspired by some pardon the interruption toss-ups. So this is where we'll be. Of course, it's the bye week. We've got to find something to talk about. Hopefully, y'all enjoy it. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by our good friends at the Hays City Store. Gerry, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Hays City Store, there are very few restaurants that once you go to, you immediately know they are just special. That's what happened to me the first time I went to Hays City Store. It's one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts, all of it delicious, all of it from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house. Perfect for game days, off weekend. Get out the Hays City Store. Live music. Watch college football. And then if you want to go on a Sunday, they have brunch from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hays City Store is also dog-friendly unless you're a Georgia fan. Keep that bulldog at home. And they have a tree net for kids. Unless your kid's a Georgia kid, then you don't bring him either. Join the folks out at Hays City Store and bring the whole crew. For more information, check the website at hayscitystoretx.com. Hays City Store, it's uniquely Texas.
Perfect. Thank you, Gerry, and thank you again to Hays City Store. Probably no better weekend, given it's a Texas bye, to get out there and enjoy some football and some food. But just to recap, we did this episode a few weeks back during the first Texas bye week. I'll ask you guys a couple questions. There's a side you could take, or you can go out on a limb and blaze your own path. There's no regulations or rules here. Y'all feel free to answer it however you'd like. Gerry, I'll start with you. Here's the first question. The Texas offense has found a bit of a rhythm as of late. What's most encouraging to you? Is it the one turnover in the last 4 games dating back to the Oklahoma game? Or is it, hey, over the last 2 games, Texas offensively averaging north of 3 points per drive offensively? That would be a top 20 offense in the country. What's most important? What's most encouraging for you, Gerry?
Points per drive. I can live with a couple of turnovers as long as you're still scoring 25, 26, 27, 28 points. As long as you're not giving up the short field, right? But I think the points per drive is the key number right now, especially with who's next. I mean, you're going to have to score the ball in Athens. You don't have to play perfect football, and you shouldn't be expected to play perfect football. But you're going to have to score points because Georgia's offense will score points. Then against A&M, they're coming in bringing the best offense they've had in a while. You're going to have to score points because they're going to score points against you. You're going to have to score points to win that football game. Arkansas, Rod's one of his favorites, Taylor Green, best player on a bad team. Yeah, they're going to score points. Bobby Petrino will score points. The last 3 games, Texas has to be able to score the football, bottom line, and that points per drive number is really nice looking going in the last 3 games.
Yeah, definitely. Rod, I know Texas has to score, as Gerry mentioned. Are you in that same boat?
Yeah, man, I think about last year's team, right? You were bottom 15 in the country in terms of giveaways, right? You had a lot of turnovers. Your turnovers were a big issue for you, but a lot of that was offset because your defense was fantastic. They were splendid, actually, in sudden change situations, and you were the most explosive offense in the country. Right. So nobody could keep up with you in terms of explosive plays. And a lot of that would mask or be able to cover up the turnover issue. So this team actually hasn't been bad in turnovers even all season long. So I think lately what has been most encouraging is the fact that they can now score some points. A lot of that is built on now they have more explosive plays on offense. So, and I think they kind of found some rhythm. So I agree with Gerry on this one, man. The fact that they can score points now, that's what truly gives them a chance in these last 3 games. The turnovers is good, but last year it was, like I said, they were one of the worst teams in the country at taking care of the football, and it didn't necessarily hold them back from getting to the college football playoff and getting to the Final Four because they had something offensively that was able to offset that. And I'm not saying they have that, but in the last 2 games, it certainly has seemed that way.
Yeah, definitely. And again, these final 3 weeks, you're going to see some big time plays, big time explosives, some points on the board. As we've talked about, possessions are going to be very important. And of course, points all the more. This next one is going to be very similar to this. It's going to sit along the big plays, the explosives. Texas right now sits 69th in the country with plays of 20 or more. They have 37 this year. Last year, Rod, I think we went through it. They were top 5 when it came to 20-plus plays or more. Of course, they played a lot of football. But defensively, they sit 36th, and I think that might be a little low considering what we've seen over the last few years with this Texas defense and how sound they've been in the back end. But what's the bigger surprise, the lack of explosive offensively this year, Rod, or are you sitting around saying, hey, maybe sometimes they get a little leaky in the back end? Are you surprised by either one of those statistics so far?
To me, I think it would probably be the offense and the fact that they are not higher in terms of that explosive play rate. Sark in the last 2 years, Texas has been top 10. They were top 10 in 2024 and top 10 in explosive plays of 20-plus yards in 2023. So it seems like they were trending toward once again being that. And it seems like this year there was a disconnect somehow. They couldn't generate those explosive plays until recently. So to me, that's the most disappointing part of it. PK's defense is built on not allowing explosive plays. I mean, that's the big part of why they like to keep an umbrella over the defense. That's a big part of why it's frustrating for a lot of Longhorn fans. DBs play off coverage. Sometimes a little too conservative, maybe too much cushion in their off coverage, but it's all about forcing the offense to have to drive the length of the field. And I think so that, it's a little bit more surprising for the offense, in my opinion, that they haven't been able to do it since Sark is considered the offensive savant, a guru, if you will.
Yeah. Jerry?
I'm not saying this just to have a disagreement here. I'm going to go deep because I think there's so much more expected of the defense. And it's like they're getting naked shorted on the stock market right now. They're falling fast. I mean, they're falling fast. Texas has given up well over 400 yards a game in SEC play. I mean, outside of the Oklahoma game, even Kentucky at 395. Last couple of games, it hasn't been pretty. It's going the wrong direction right now. And when you consider that you have Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M, probably the most explosive offenses left that they've played, that's concerning to me. So I'm actually going the other way, not to be argumentative or just agree with Rod, because Rod and I agree on most things. This is a fun conversation, but I just think Texas is headed the wrong direction on defense. And if they don't get that shored up, that number is going to keep getting worse because they're playing better players down the stretch on offense.
I was going to point that out as well. The conversation around quarterbacks a year ago was a little bit differently than what Texas is facing with, obviously, Taylon Green. You look at some of the guys that they've faced or will face coming up. It's different than some of the backups or some of the guys that they faced a year ago in which they were a top 10 defense in regards to the explosive play. But I did want to pivot a little bit to the individual play of the Texas Longhorns. I wanted to ask you guys, since this second half of the season has begun, I jotted down a few names here that might be the most encouraging, the most surprising. Brandon Baker being one. I think obviously Ryan Niblett and what he's done in special teams. Ethan Burke with three sacks, 6 tackles for loss over the last 3 weeks. Who comes to mind for y'all when it comes to the most surprising and encouraging player in the second half?
Yeah, the joking part of me would go to Brandon Baker because anybody that played on the offensive line, there were eulogies being written for them and funeral services being attended early in the season. But Brandon Baker's always been a really good player that had no game experience. But the answer to me is pretty obvious. It's Ryan Niblett here for me because, look, I just always go back to the Ohio State game and that he wouldn't field the punt. And Rod, we all of us talked on these shows. You can't give up all that hidden yardage in SEC play. You just can't do that. You have to field the football. He has probably made the biggest swing in this season for any one player to me. He has gone from, oh my gosh, is this guy going to catch the football at Ohio State? Can we not give up 10 to 12 yards on a roll, to leading the nation in punt returns?
Mm-hmm.
And arguably winning you a game and putting you in a position to win a second game, right? I mean, it's rare that a punt returner makes that drastic of a change from first couple of games to where you're at now. So I'm definitely going Niblett.
It's hard not to go with Ryan Niblett. I mean, he's basically been the biggest factor in you winning 3 of the games here down the stretch. His ability to essentially change the complexion of the game on a punt return. So he's leading the country right now in punt returns. He's definitely going to be an All-American. I don't know how many guys are kind of guaranteed All-American status at this point in the season, but he's pretty much. Colin Simmons is probably in that conversation. Maybe Anthony Hill maybe is in that conversation. It ain't many guys that, this guy's guaranteed to be an All-American. Yeah. That's what Ryan Niblett is. Like, if I could put money on anybody right now that they own guaranteed to be an All-American, it would be Ryan Niblett. Like, let that sink in.
That's crazy.
He's the easy, and like to me, that's the surefire bet that he's gonna be an All-American. So Jerry's right about that one. No need to debate that. Ryan Niblett might be the greatest number 21 in Texas football history, and that's coming from the current greatest number 21. He's winning games by himself. I don't know about anything like that.
He's been single-handedly responsible for a number of points, and I kind of got inspired by some of y'all's answers right there. And I'll include true freshman All-American here. If Ryan Niblett is the surefire number one guy on the list for Texas All-Americans in 2025. Who's second? Is it Anthony Hill, a Colin Simmons? Could Grayson Littleton edge both of them out for a freshman spot? Give me y'all's thoughts.
It's got to be Colin Simmons to me.
Okay.
Got to be. Just on the tear that he's on right now. He's definitely going to finish with double-digit sacks unless, knock on wood, something crazy happens. He's the guy right now. Anthony Hill's fantastic. They need to rush him as a rush him more as a blitzer from the second level. If they do, he could stack up some of those crazy stats. But right now, Colin Simmons is making those plays that one against Vanderbilt, where it stands out to you. You recognize it because it's so unique. You haven't seen anything like it at the college level this season. He's making plays like that.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Simmons as well because he's got a ball out in the last 3 games because we're facing good quarterbacks, quarterbacks that can move. They're not one-dimensional players. He has to be an All-American level player the last 3 games. So I'm going with Colin Simmons on this. They need their best to be their best. And I think Colin Simmons is rounded into that. That's crazy just how many sacks he has in SEC play now, considering how many times he gets held, never has a chance to finish a play.
And a slow start. And a slow start to the season.
Yeah. But to Rod's point, if Texas had been blitzing Anthony Hill all year, I think he might have 9 sacks too right now.
Agreed. I'm with you on that. I agree.
That might be one of the bigger surprises, and I don't have a question for it, so we won't go too deep into it. But, the weaponization of Anthony Hill, something that we all talked about. We haven't seen a lot of it until, Vanderbilt, we saw them both blitzing off the edge, probably more so together than we have at any point. You spin Ethan Burke into the interior, and boy, do you have 3 guys that are playing their best football at the moment. But I did want to speak a little bit more about this upcoming 3-game stretch for Texas. We talk about, they got to score points. They got to keep teams out of the end zone. I got 2 stats here in regards to the Texas pass defense and the Texas rush offense. What must improve the most, or what must have better performances over the next 3 weeks? Texas right now, out of 136 teams, ranks 131st in conference rushing yards per game at 81 yards per game. Defensively, they rank 92nd in pass defense at 235 yards per game. Jerry, what say you? What must improve the most if Texas wants to succeed in the next 3?
Because if the quarterbacks are playing, pass defense. Pass defense. Because, look, I keep going back this, and there were injuries in the Vanderbilt game. We all know that. Diego Pave hadn't thrown for 200 yards in an SEC game. He went 365.
He almost did 200 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so busted coverage at the worst time. There's so many things, not tackling in space. There are so many things that you look down the line and say, Gunnar Stockton, Taylon Green, and Reed at A&M with Concepcion and Craver. And you're like, got to get the back end fixed fast because these guys aren't going to have a pity party for you. They're going to freaking throw the rock on you. So for me, it's pass defense with the who's left on the schedule.
Rod, are you in the same boat as a former DB yourself?
Yeah, that's no doubt. I agree with Jerry. I even said it this week. Sark has mentioned that they're opening up the cornerback competition this late in the season. So I think Sark is already telling us, the big issue we got to figure out in this bye week is pass defense. You're right. You're about to play some of the best offenses in the SEC. I think Gunnar Stockton right now, if you look at pass success rate, he's right behind Pavia in the SEC in passing success rates. Marcel Reed's having a great year, but might have the best duo of wide receivers in the SEC. So, yeah, man, Jerry's right about that because it's definitely – there are certain concepts now that have given Texas trouble in multiple games in that secondary. Not having Michael Taft back in that secondary has also been, I think, a huge loss for them, but hopefully they get him back. But Jerry's right, man. They got to figure some things out in the pass defense. If they don't, they're going to be in shootouts for the rest of the season.
And the rest of this, the Georgia and A&M especially, those plays are touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. Zachariah Branch, Dylan Bell, Concepcion and Craver, those plays that didn't turn into touchdowns against Texas versus Vanderbilt, 2 or 3 of those might.
Agreed.
That's worth mentioning. Y'all mentioned injuries. That's kind of where I wanted to pivot next. Texas obviously has been dinged up over the last 2 weeks. I wanted to ask you guys, is it as simple as getting Michael Taft back out on the field or Jelani McDonald, or Jared, to your point, will they need a Ryan Wingo? Who is going to be the most impactful return or 100% healthy-wise for the Texas Longhorns to be successful over the next 3? I'll start with you, Jerry.
Michael Taft. I mean, there's just – last year, Rod talked about it all off season. I think we all mentioned it, but they had such close to perfection communication in the secondary last year. And you can't lose all parts of that from last year. I mean, so the return of Michael Taft, because he is your eyes at the back end of the defense, through the whole defense, by the way. But he is the communicator to the staff. I think Michael Taft easily, and that's not a slight on Ryan Wingo or Jelani McDonald, but this defense needs Michael Taft back because he is the quarterback of the defense, and it has shown.
Yeah.
I hate to be boring and agree with Jerry, but he's right about that. I mean, we talked about Michael Taft's impact, and I hadn't seen many blown, busted coverages. You had multiple busted coverages in that Vanderbilt game, and I think that was clearly a result of them not having their kind of master communicator on the back end. And not only that, in terms of your punt return, it's also one of your best blockers on the punt return too.
Absolutely, good point.
Those Niblett returns, man, you always see Michael Taft. He is out there in front, kind of leading the charge to setting up the wall. So, and of course, he, as a leader overall, right? He's one of the best leaders on your team. Even when he's not playing, he's over there coaching on the sideline. So, yeah, it's Michael Taft. I do think ultimately the secondary getting him back will decrease some of those blown coverages. You'll still have some leaky coverage, but you won't have just a blown coverage like you had versus Vanderbilt. Easy, give up, kind of touchdowns in, 30 seconds type touchdowns. Right. You won't get that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I hate that was such an easy agreement for both of you guys. It's funny looking back whenever I was taking my notes, I actually only put down Jelani and Ryan Wingo. So figured that Michael Taft would be the clear-cut answer there. Yeah. For the folks at home, I'll come up with some tougher questions next time. But I do have one left for both of you guys. And again, thank you to Hay City Store for sponsoring this episode of On Texas Football. But say Texas falls in one of the next 3 games. I did want to ask you guys, in what situation, what's the scenario in which the committee looks at the Texas resume and says, okay, between a win over Georgia or a win at home over Texas A&M, what's the most impressive outcome for the Texas Longhorns, and how can they boost their resume the most between those two? Jared, do you have a specific answer that you lean on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I it's going to be interesting. I hear both sides of this, but because we've had this discussion a lot.
Yeah.
But I think A&M needs to be 11-0, and I think you need to beat them at home. And because the one thing about it is, well, the line's out in Texas, a 5.5-point dog in Athens, right? If you lose that game, then you come back and beat Arkansas. And A&M, if they don't, look, they should be 11-0 coming to Austin, barring some collapse. And I know they collapsed before, but this doesn't feel like the same collapse type of team to me. But you need them to be 11-0 coming to Austin. You need the last thing that the committee needs to see with this Texas team is a win over the highest ranked opponent they've played all year that they've beaten. Not Ohio State. They lost that game. But they need to beat the 11-0 team at home. I think the worst thing for this Texas team, if it came down to who gets the 12th spot in a scenario, is you lost at home to end your season.
One of the last tastes in the mouth of the committee is a loss for the Longhorns. I tend to agree with you, Jerry, but I would say a win in Athens, just to play devil's advocate, would go a long way for Texas to get over that hump of Kirby Smart. Rod, is that how you see it as well? Or are you saying, hey, it's all about what you've done for me lately and in the eyes of the committee, a win over what could be a number 2 or number 3 ranked Texas A&M team? That goes a long way.
Yeah, you can't get better than, ending your season on a high of beating an undefeated rival. That game would be, I don't know, you talk about the ranking and the ratings for it would be huge. And it would put the Texas A&M game kind of back on the map for the rivalry too. So there's no doubt Jerry's right about that. But for the psychology of the team and the psychology of Sark, the Georgia game is bigger.
I agree.
Sark needs to be able to experience success against Kirby Smart, and this team needs to be able to experience success against Georgia, in my opinion, because they are still the big dog in the SEC. So I think psychologically it means more to Texas to beat Georgia than it would to beat A&M. They beat A&M. They believe they can beat A&M. They know all the guys at A&M. They know all of them. They already know those guys. They're like, man, I beat that dude in high school. I can beat that dude. They already psychologically believe they could beat A&M. That's part of the big brother, little brother thing. What they don't believe, because they haven't done it, is that they can beat Georgia.
Yeah.
So psychologically, it will mean more. And maybe that propels you to being able to beat A&M if you could do that, but we shall see.
Yeah. And to Rod's point on that is, Rod has a good point, and this has been one of the chats. I know in the evening live shows and Coffee and Football, to Rod's point is, one, this is a huge game for Sark, personally, I think. And yes, I think he might have beat Washington if the running backs didn't sit out back in the day against Kalen DeBoer, right? But the reality is, people, all they talk about is what your record is against people. It's 0-2 against DeBoer, it's 0-2 against Kirby, it's 0-2 against Ryan Day.
Yep.
He needs to knock the door down. I mean, he knows he needs to knock the door down. But for the psychology of the team, to Rod's point, that one could propel you.
Yep.
Right. I mean, there's something to be said for that is, you go on the road and, you lose to Florida, you play like hammered dog poo at Kentucky on offense, and you have to have a frantic comeback to beat Mississippi State. So you still haven't put together even 3 strong quarters on the road. And you will have to put 3.5 to 4 together to win in Georgia. So what that could propel the Texas team to could be something on a total different level than getting to the game against A&M and saying, all right, you just got to go find a way to go win this game against 11-0 A&M. It's a rivalry game. There's something to be said for the psychological part, like Rod said.
Yeah, of course. You can't win all 3 if you don't win the first. And on top of that, you'd be looking at back-to-back top 10 wins with a bye in between to get a little bit more health. That would be very important for the Longhorns there. But, guys, that is all of my questions. I appreciate you both for taking the time out today. Hopefully you guys back at home enjoying the bye week enjoyed this episode as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do this before entering the college football playoff as well. But for Rod, for Jerry, thank you guys very much for y'all's time. And for everybody, be sure to get on over to ontexasfootball.com. Use the code OTFOG to become an On Texas Football OG for $39.95. 1 year of access gets you everything over there on the website. But for the 3 of us and for our producer Matthew behind the scenes and our great sponsor at Hays City Store, thank you very much. Enjoy the bye week and welcome Horns.